Hey guys, Jeff with OptionBoxer.com. Got another video for you tonight. I'm going to go through my OptionBoxer Analyze and Journal Workbook, or Analyze and Journal Spreadsheet. But before we get into it, please know that I am not a registered financial advisor, and this video is not a recommendation for you to buy or sell any security or place any trade. Please make sure you're doing your own research prior to trading. Working what seems to be tirelessly on getting this spreadsheet to be something that was a little more both presentable and usable from a user aspect, and I think I've been able to do that, and I can assure you there will be more updates in the future. So please stay tuned for those. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in here. So this is the dashboard screen. For those of you that have seen any of the videos I've made previously, you'll know that this dashboard screen didn't exist. You'll also know that there used to be about 50 tabs down here, and I've simplified all of that down into a number of buttons here that will direct you to those pages, and we'll go through those in logical order here throughout this video. I'll apologize in advance. This may get a little bit lengthy, but I want to be thorough, and I want to show you all the different functions and all the different tools that this spreadsheet has to offer. It is available for purchase on my website at OptionBoxer.com. If you see something that you disagree with, or that you think could be better, or if you just have an idea that could help anyone or could help everyone, please feel free to reach me at jeff@OptionBoxer.com, or if you just have a question about it, you can reach me there as well. I'm also available, if you reach me on the comment section on YouTube. That being said, if you do find any value in the video, or if you would like to see more of the content that I'm producing, please like and subscribe. It really does help me grow my channel, and the more likes and subscribes I get, the more people I can reach, and possibly the more people I can help along the way. Really, at the end of the day, all I'm trying to do is trade stocks and options, and I really enjoy it, and I've been very blessed to have the opportunity to do it, and so I thank God for that, and I'm grateful to be able to put this video out there and let you guys check it out. But anyways, I've worked tirelessly, like I said, on getting this to be something that could not only help me and make my trading a little better, but possibly help you as well. So I've kind of refined it, polished it, and I think I'm ready to put it out there, and you guys can let me know what you think, either in the comments or at jeff@optionboxer.com. Okay, so the dashboard screen here, you'll see I've got the start and stop calculations buttons. These were necessary for the spreadsheet because after we go through here, you'll see just the large quantity of data that's being pulled in and being analyzed and calculated and pulled across the different sheets and different areas of the workbook. So if you're running into any problems and it's taking a while, depending on, I guess, on your computer, it could be slow or it could be fast. I've got a decent computer that I trade with and that I create my videos and stuff on, so it's not too slow for me, but I just for the sake of anybody that may try to use this, I thought it was important to put those start and stop calculations there. You can also do this up here on the formulas tab. You can just go to calculations, automatic or manual, but for the sake of simplicity, so you didn't have to constantly look on the ribbon up here, you could just hit start or stop. But anyways, I'll go ahead and start the calculations. They should have already been started. If they weren't, I can't remember, but I'll go ahead and start it. Everything that you see here on the dashboard screen is going to be dynamic in nature, and as the information is either populated by you through the trading journal, or as information is pulled in from ThinkorSwim, these metrics and this information you see on the screen will all update in real time. So before we go through all the buttons, let's take a look here at the dashboard. So you can just see the current investment holdings. This is just going to be a pie chart of all the different assets you hold in your investment accounts, and I'll show you as this video progresses where that information is coming from. But it's just going to give you just a quick overview. You can see here kind of this jumbled mess where you can't really make heads or tails out of it. I've locked this pie chart just so you know, so you won't be able to move this, which is not the best deal. But basically the reason it's like this is because there's no information for these ticker symbols that I have here at the moment. And so once you can see here, it's still a little bit of a mess there. But once you get this populated and it all begins to even out and you have different metrics there, or if you're not involved in any of these, then you can see here the 0% on those. Looks like 0% on the financials. So once you have data there, this will spread out and you'll be able to see it a little more clearly. If it becomes a problem, just reach out to me and I can unlock it for you and let you do it. But the problem I ran into, the reason it's locked is because if you click on here and you try to move these where you can see them, then when data starts to populate, they're all over the screen and they just look messy. But you can see here how XLV is clearly, you can see it clearly. You can see the amount there and the percentage for these that are on the outside. That's because I have data there. Once you have these filled in with some information, they will of course expand and then you'll be able to see them clearly. Same thing over here. As the more information is pulled in, they'll start to spread themselves out and be more visible. But when there's zero or a very small amount, they kind of get lost in the mix with the other ones. So I apologize for that. But Excel doesn't do as good a job as Google Sheets in spreading this data out so it's more easily presentable. And if I unlock it and you start dragging them everywhere, I can promise you now it'll be just a mess of a view that you're looking at. So that was the best way I could come up with, at least as of today. And we'll look at it in the future if I find a way to make it look a little better there. But so current investment holdings, then you've got the sector allocation here. That's just going to show you, kind of how heavy you are in the different sectors. You can see right now I've got 0 in communication services, but I'm very heavy in gold. These are of course dummy metrics. These are not my actual positions. And then so those are more for your investments. This right here would be more for your options. We've got the SPY put versus call volume. You can see here the put sizzle versus the call sizzle, and this is again all real time. So today, prior to the market closing, it looked like the call side was seeing a fairly large amount of volume, and you can see that denoted there in the pie chart. Moving just down the volatility index or the VIX index, you can see there was a little bit heavier volume on the call side there as well. The market internals, you can see I've got the New York Stock Exchange. Looks like I need to clean this up just a little bit, or actually that's in line with the rest of them, but it looks like there was just a lot of up volume today in the NASDAQ. And you can see that here denoted. Again, these are all real time, so they will update with the market, but you got the up volume, down volume, advanced decline for both the NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange there. Going down here, you got an equity growth chart, just going to show you your equity growth over time. Again, this is a dynamic chart, so as time progresses, you can see I've got information in there all the way out to 2023. Obviously, I know it's not 2023, but I've put information in there just so you can kind of see this chart at work. I've also got an equity by month. Anyways, also got an equity by month chart here. And so you can see here in 2020, it looks like May I was fairly weak. July started to get a little better. August did a little better. And of course, my best month over the course of the year there. And this is the year of 2020 was in March. Again, dummy data, so it's not my actual position. But if you need to adjust this, you'll just go up here to the screen. And let's say I wanted to look at 2018. You can see I didn't have any data in there with the exception of December. And then take a look at 2023. Again, didn't have any data there. Let's look at one more. I think 2022, maybe I had. No, again, same thing. Let's go 2021. Yeah, and so you'll see it updates accordingly. Again, dynamic and live market data. So as you input information into the spreadsheet, it will allow you to pull it across here. And then this is just a total for the entire year. And you can see minus 3,522 in October. So that was a particularly bad month. But I have the most data there for 2020. So we'll leave that on the screen. So that's essentially the dashboard tab for now, at least as far as just a kind of a quick look at what's going on in the market, what the options market's kind of offering you, what your portfolio and your holdings look like. And then an equity growth chart. Of course, you want this to be rising as time goes along. And before you know it, there'll be 20 years showing here, and you'll be able to see, kind of where you started and where you've been, or, where you've been and where you've gone to. And then you can take a look here if you want to see by year how the breakdown is. All right, so that's like I said, essentially the tab. Sorry, I had to push pause on the video. I had to correct one little thing. This was driving me crazy. This little button here that I have to highlight there was kind of out of position, so I wanted to fix it. In any case, let's go ahead and take a look here. Again, you can start and stop the calculations. Already discussed those. Setup. So when you first start, if you first get your hands on this spreadsheet workbook, you're going to want to come in here and enter the transaction types. You should be able to leave alone. If you did have a different type of transaction, you could enter it there. These are all the option strategies that I have traded or have looked at trading. Of course, you could enter any number of strategies there that you want to track. Investment strategies, a little bit shorter list, of course. You could enter whatever you prefer there. Shouldn't need to mess around with the sectors. That's all of them that I'm familiar with. There may be some others out there that you trade, and again, you can enter it there. Position type, long or short, shouldn't need that. I think, to be completely honest with you, I think the part of the spreadsheet that was using that I've eliminated. So I should probably be able to delete that, but for sake of time right now, I'm not going to. And then accounts, these are the 3 accounts that I have, years, and then expiration months. Again, this column could be deleted as well, but I'd want to double check, all the different sheets on this workbook to make sure it's not being utilized somewhere else. But you'll notice the format here is the year, the month, and then the day. And that is going to make sense to you when we get to the options analysis tab shortly. That is how when I first created the options analysis tab, I was just entering the strikes there so that I could easily populate onto there, but I found it to be a little bit less confusing to just enter the day, the month, the year, and I have that set up accordingly. But so that's the setup tab. Then release notes, you'll see as I click the button, it's only pulling up the tab that you clicked, and it's hiding the rest of the tabs. You can see I've got some notes here: complete layout redesign, which we're going through now. I've designed the dashboard for simplicity and give you a little bit of insight into the market. I've consolidated the trade log and summary tabs. I just felt like they were taking up too much space and it didn't make sense to have them pull in from one sheet to another. I've revised the VBA code to make it quicker for data entry, and I'll show you that momentarily. And then I've locked the VBA code so that there wasn't any code breaks. I had some trouble with that myself. So I knew if I was developing it, creating it, and I was having trouble messing up the VBA, then it was possible for you to do the same. Added tools and expanded the existing tool set. So we'll go through all of those here momentarily. If for whatever reason you want to open every sheet, you can see you just click that button. It's going to open everything down here. I just feel like it becomes more of a burden as you try to click across to find everything. So I just like to keep them all hidden, but in case you needed to open them up, there they are. So we'll start here in investment analysis, and you can see that I've got AT&T pulled in there. It's going to pull in this data here. Anything in yellow you're going to have to populate yourself, and you can feel free to look through the list here. This is more of a fundamental approach to investments, and so there is some value there, at least in my opinion. You may see or think otherwise, and you can see that's all going to pull information in down here. Of course, these zeros exist because I don't have a market cap entered there, so we'll just enter a fictitious market cap number so that those will populate, and then it's going to give us it's going to take this information, the ratios that you can see here, and it's going to basically simplify them down into a true or false response. And here is the what I'm looking for from the ratios to give me this true or false. And then it's going to basically create a score here that's going to give me a strong buy, a wait, or a sell signal. And then that way you can enter the information and you don't have to sit there and think about 20 different things that ultimately leads to a lot of wasted time. And if you're anything like me, it ends up in a poor decision. So I just felt like this was simple. It gave you exactly what you needed to see based on these metrics here. So if you find any value in them, then you'll find value in the score that it gives you, but you can take a look at that and play around with it as you see fit. So that was the investment analysis tab. Let's just go ahead and take a look at the options analysis tab. Before we go through here really quickly, I do have another video on my website or on YouTube directly related to this tab, and it's going to go into this particular section of the spreadsheet a little more in depth. But we'll run through it really quickly here. So it's you can see the day's date is the 8th. It is getting pretty early in the morning there. And then as far as data entry, the only entry that you need to do on this page would be right here where I've got SPY. Just make sure it's in all caps so that it'll populate down here accordingly. And then you can just enter the month, the day, and the year in 2-digit format. So for now I've got 03. Let's say we wanted to look at February. Simply enter February, give it a second, let the data pull in, and then it'll populate on the spreadsheet there. For, let's say you were looking at, I think I was looking at Starbucks. Let's look at Starbucks. So you'll see Starbucks looks like they have $5 wide strikes. Well, that's not going to give you the most up to the minute, or I guess the most accurate would be a better way to say that, most accurate data. So you can see here that there's a bunch of, kind of blank white areas. That's just indicating where data does and does not exist. So you can see there's no information there. So you would simply come up here, hit the $5 wide strike button, so it populates everything on the screen. It's still going to calculate even with the blank areas there. It's just now going to bring in every possible bit of information that it can from this particular options month, and then it's going to return the correct information into your directional analysis tab. At the end of everything, all we're trying to do is determine what direction we think Starbucks in this instance is going to go. And so I've got it dialed in here to market internals, put call ratio, long-term trend, skew, beta is correlated. You can see the beta number over here. It's, I guess if you look at it on a 1-to-1 ratio, 83% of the time it is correlated with the S&P 500. So there is, I guess, a 17% chance that it will not be correlated. Moving right along, the max pain. The max pain, for just kind of the simplest way I could describe it, is the point where the point on the options chain here where the most people are involved, or where the most people have the most money at play, or possibly stand the chance to lose the most money. You can certainly Google it to get a much more in-depth or much more comprehensive definition of what the max pain is and how it's useful. But I look at this and I see the max pain at 100 with the underlying at 103. It just makes me feel like maybe there's a little bit of bearishness in the market there, and it would make me feel a little more confident if I was taking a bearish trade. You can see the market internals from today were bullish. The put call ratio was bullish, the long-term trend was bullish, and then the skew was bearish. So the skew is something that I calculate over here. You can see this 283, 292. That number can't be trusted, obviously, because that's just not at all accurate. These numbers would need to be closer together, such as, and that's for just that purpose is why I included the sum call out of the money, some put out of the money, and then I also included the at the money for both the puts and the calls. So you can see here that if you're looking at the sum call out of the money and the sum put out of the money, they're a little bit closer, so you could probably trust that data a little bit better. And my thoughts are, if they're, these are calculated based on the bid price here on the chain. And so my thoughts are, if the bid price, if they're willing to pay you less on one side of the market, that's the way the market thinks it's going to go. At least that's my interpretation of it. You can feel free to interpret it otherwise. But in this case, it looks like they're paying you less to take a bullish position, which would indicate that maybe the market thinks that Starbucks is going to be bullish at least in the next 42 days. And so that's my my simple approach to looking at it. And again, you can see it I can see it one way and you can see it another way, and that's perfectly fine. Also on the screen, I've got the underlying price, the current underlying price. This data is real time. And then this information here is just used to create this root code, which will populate it there along with the strike price, so that you get the data to pull in on the tab or on the each individual strike price here on the options chain. Days left in this contract, 42. Expiration day is 2/19, as you've denoted here, and then the expected move is $10.14. So that's the calls, and then if you just scroll down, you can see the information for the puts. All of this up here is the same. I've just got the puts and calls separate for obvious reasons. And then on the chain itself, you can see I've got the bid, the ask, the intrinsic, the extrinsic, the delta, theta, vega, probability in the money, probability out of the money, implied volatility, open interest, and volume. So if you saw any of this data and you thought, well, if I calculate the delta and the theta, a certain way, just simply create a new sheet and you can slice and dice the data however you see fit. But that's the options analysis tab. If you're anything like me, you'll spend a fair amount of time there, uncovering different trades and different possible trade candidates. Trade entry tab is another area you're going to spend a lot of time. You're simply going to enter this data here, click submit the trade. You can see in big, as big as I could possibly make it, the start and stop calculations. And then I've got a little note here under each one. Stop the calculations to enter multiple trades. Turn on the calculations when trade entry complete. So like I said at the beginning of this video, data is being pulled and populated across this workbook into a number of different areas so that you can see all the different, so you can see the information here on the dashboard, and we'll look at the performance tab here in just a second so you can see all the different performance metrics. So there's a lot of data being populated and calculated. And if you're going to enter if you're just going to enter one, you can start the calculations and leave them on. But what I found out is if you enter one and you push submit, it's going to take the same amount of time as if you entered 20 different trades here. Submit the trade, and then so stop the calculations, enter all the data or all the trades you're going to put, submit after each one. Of course, it will clear this out so you don't have to constantly delete information there, and then click start, and it's going to take the same amount of time to calculate everything and populate it. But all of that being said, if you're anything like me, you really want to see the information. So you'll enter the first line of code, or if you don't want to enter the first line of information there, the date, let's just say 12/20. I'm not going to type everything in. You would click and, select if it's buy to open, sell to open, so forth. Type in the ticker symbol, the sector, you could click and figure it out there. Investment strategy, in this case, since this is the investment entry, you buy and hold, so forth. Account, you'd select the account that one's applied to, the number of shares that you purchased, the share price, fees if you had a commission or something, or if you wanted to put the SEC regulatory fees, you could put those in there as well. And then the split ratio, unless you're, I think Apple just recently split, let's say you were buying 10 shares of Apple, or you had 10 shares of Apple and it was splitting, you would simply enter, in that case it was 4, you would just enter the split ratio. And then you would click submit. But let's say you just wanted to enter the information the way I do. Click submit. It's going to show you the trade log tab, and then you can see all of the different trades. So you probably have to make it a little bit bigger. I've got it smaller, and then you can just enter line by line. This information over here is where the data is going to calculate, and then it's going to pull the information from there onto this summary tab. So if at any given point you just wanted to see, well, how am I doing in EEM? Well, you can see the numbers there for EEM. Let's go ahead and highlight that row. And you can see total gain and loss. I've made $1,000. Current market value on my positions is $5,330. And you can just look there and see. The only other thing you would need to enter on this page, other than the data to the far left that we just discussed, would be if you had a dividend, you would want to make sure you put that dividend in there so it'll calculate on the performance tab as well. And you can see I've got a number of old dividends in here. You could clear that data out if we wanted to. We'll go ahead and do that now. And so you just want to make sure you enter the dividend there so everything calculates appropriately. But like I said, like me, I like to see, as I'm entering, make sure I'm going through it correctly. But if you didn't, let's just go ahead. I was going to try to save time, but let's just say I entered one on 12/25, buy to open. Let's say I bought AT&T. Sector, I think that's communication services. So you click communication, investment strategy. Let's buy and hold. Account, let's say that's my core IRA. Let's say we bought 100 shares. Let's say it was $28 a share. There were $1 worth of fees, and the split ratio was 1 since there weren't actually a split. And you submit, and you come over to the trade log tab. You make sure it's submitted appropriately. If you like what you see, just push start calculations. It's going to calculate it. You can see the blue loading bar, and then now when you come back to it, you can see the information it has calculated across here, and then it's added it over here to the far right. But this is where you would enter the stuff for the options trades. Same thing as the investments. Just click submit the trade. It's going to show you the trade log tab. You can come in there and enter all the data that you need to. Works exactly the same way as the trade log tab. You enter the data here on the left. It's going to calculate into this table first, and then it's going to pull it across to the table to the right so you can see a summary of your current positions. I don't think I have any options trades. Yeah, it looks like maybe I have one. But when we get to the live options trade tab, if you build the live option in there, it'll give you the actual current market price. You can see my cost on this Apple trade that I have here with 10 contracts. or I'm actually short 10 contracts. It has a market value of 290, but it has a cost of 290. So I don't have this trade entered into the live trade tab, because if I did, it would calculate the current market value, and that way it would show me my unrealized gain and loss there. That way everything stays in real time. But since I don't, you just come back over here, hit start calculations, and then it would turn back on. But for now, I'm going to stop them while we go through the rest of the spreadsheet. And so that gets us through investment analysis, option analysis, and trade entry. Let's go and take a look at the live options tab. I'm not going to build one here. I'm not going to build one, like I said, but you can see here, if you, again, if you want to see more about this, in fact, you know what, I'm just going to build it so that we can see it. So I like to identify, you know, either just with a number, if you're going to trade multiple options on the same ticker. Now, if you're just trading individual tickers, you only have one trade on at a time. For, you know, my example trade up here is just Apple. If you only had one trade on an Apple, you wouldn't need to worry about this identifier. But I know many of us, if you're like me, maybe you just trade a long call. So you can just append, you know, attach an identifier to it so you know which spread is which when you look here on the sheet. So let's say we are trading, what did I have up? Let's see. Let's say we're trading SPY. Let's build the 380, 381 bear call there. So let's change this to bear call. All right, we are trading SPY. Just make sure it's in all caps. The date on that was, let's see, March the 19th of 21. It needs to be entered in this format, so it's 2103.19, and that's a call. Notice that the short strike will be here in the red area, and the long strike will be, and you can see I've got it denoted here, will be in the green area. So the short strike, let's do the 380. So you just type in 380 there. Again, come down, enter the same information, 2103.19. Again, it's a call. Let's do 381 and then click submit. It's going to pull that information across here, and then it's going to give you the market value of that particular spread. And you can see I've got it listed here as bear call. That also is going to pull it across onto your trade log tab and your summary tab, so that you have the information pulled across to everything. At any point, if you want to clear everything here, now if you just wanted to clear this one trade, you would just highlight over and click clear contents. Oh, sorry, I need to unlock that then. Looks like I've got that locked, and it does not need to be locked. But if you want to clear all of that, you just simply hit reset, and then you're good to go. I'll highlight this in a different color because this is where the formulas are. And then if you ever had a four-legged trade, it would enter data for all four of these and then populate there accordingly. So that's the live options tab. That was the easiest way I could come up with to build it so that it could track your positions, because ThinkorSwim, it will allow you to pull in your total portfolio, but at the moment it won't let you pull in individual trades. And so if you're looking to use that data to calculate, or in this instance, what I've used for in this spreadsheet is so I could track those live trades on a trade by trade basis. So that's the live options tab. Contribute, withdraw. You simply see that my 3 accounts, and you can see how for this dummy data I didn't use these other 2, but you can just select it there. That information is entered on the setup tab. And then you can see I've got a balance of 16,000. You can see the money I've contributed on a month-to-month basis, and I've got that built out so you can keep contributing there. And it'll of course populate into this little table and then pull across accordingly. The performance data is also another area you're probably going to spend a lot of time, and really where I would suggest you do, so that you can kind of get an understanding of kind of how everything's doing all together. Or separately, options or investments. You can see I'm not going to go through everything here, but you can see current investments, current value. The current investment cost you see is denoted as a negative number. That's what it's actually cost me out of my own money. And you can see the value. You of course want the value to be more than the cost. If it's not, you will be losing money. And then you can see the unrealized gain and loss. investment performance by account, you just simply click the button and you can click the account. It should be 0 for everything there because I don't have any investments. I guess it looks like in TD Cash I did have one trade in there. And so it'll change the data according to the account there, investment metrics by strategy. Simply do the same thing, click buy and hold. You can see most of these are buy and hold, and it's going to give you, looks like I need to update that. Those shouldn't be dollar symbols on there, the profit factor, total trades and so forth. Looks like I've got a couple of little refinements to make, and I apologize for those, but I'll get those corrected before I upload the spreadsheet. Top 10 holdings, it's going to give you in descending or ascending order, I should say. Well, I guess that would be descending. Starting with number 10, then work its way down to 1, and you can see that is by market value. It's going to give you your top 10 holdings there. This is kind of the area right here in the middle where it's going to compile the options and investments data, and you can see my current account starting value was at 16,000, and then it's going to give you the total account value as of the last the last minute of the last trading day. And so you can see on this dummy data I am up by a few thousand, and then it's going to give you the realized performance metrics. These are open and closed trades, and you can see I've got a profit factor of 1.14. I've got 12 total closed trades, 7 winners, 5 losers, for a winning percentage of 58%. You can see down here my average losing trade is 2,000. My average winning trade is 1,600. So that's definitely an area I would need to clean up in order to keep this portfolio profitable. My largest winning trade was 6,000. Largest losing trade was 4,000. And then you can see I've got it broke down here by year as well. Investments, options, you can see it looks like back in 2019 that was not a particularly good year for my options trading, and I lost some money. And then it looks like I never got that turned around, but it looks like maybe my investments were able to buoy my account here. Options, you can see I've got the current options cost. If you entered the data, which I didn't for this particular trade, on the live options tab, it would populate there with the actual true market value, so you can see how you were doing accordingly there. And just like over here, you just simply enter the strategy that you're looking at, long call, long put, so forth and so on. May have zeros for a lot of these, again, because this is dummy data. But that's the performance tab, so you can spend a lot of time there kind of seeing how all how your portfolio is performing for either your investments or your options or combined. And so that's the last tab there. And then we just got a couple of tools built in here. Cyclical Analysis tool, and I'll go through these briefly. It's just a rally, decline, or flat, and basically all you're trying to identify is what month historically over the last 10 years, or it looks like 11, has the market been strong or weak or flat. And so you would just simply pull up a monthly chart and just look at it, logically. I didn't even do any, if you wanted to really be detailed, you could calculate whether it was a 1% rise or 1% fall. I basically just identified, the width of the candle that was, close to 1%, and then I listed it as a D for decline, an F for flat, and an R for rally. And you would need to continue using the D, the F for the R, so that it would populate here accordingly, and then of course give you the metrics you're looking for there. Compound interest is kind of that, that chart we used to love to look at, or that some of us still love to look at, and it just shows you how, a small investment, over time, with a steady rate of return, can lead to a very large balance at the end. And so you can play around in there if you would like. The value average calculator is a unique tool that I've come across in my reading or in my own study. And so you simply enter the shares that you start with. Let's say I started with 10 shares of Intel here, and this is just fictitious data again. And then you can see how, 1 week, let's say you wanted to use this on a weekly basis. The first week it was at 25, the next week it was at 26, and it's basically just going to tell you what you need to do. This action column here is going to tell you you need to add 2 more shares so that you can maintain a 10% growth projection. You can see it stayed pretty steady, and then we had a fall there. It's going to tell you to add a few more. And then of course we had a big rise, and it's going to tell you to take some money off the table, because at the end of it, all you're trying to do is grow your money by 10%. And so you can see we've entered $237 of our own money. That's our total contribution. And at this point, it looks like we're at $546 of actual value in this position. We have a total share count of 19. And so as you enter the data here in the gray area, you don't have to mess with this after the first purchase, and then after you enter the the weekly or monthly or whatever these units represent for you and your trading. Every time you assess it and you are looking to reallocate or adjust, it will tell you what you need to do to maintain that. So I've got 4 of these little tables here, so you can use it on different tickers or different assets. And then Fibonacci Calculator, very simple. It's just got the uptrend and the downtrend. You simply enter the high and the low of the uptrend. It's going to give you the retracements and the extensions for both. And you can, most trading platforms have it where you can just draw it straight on the screen, so you probably don't need that really, but it's there in case you did want it. So that's basically it. Again, at the end, you can hide all the sheets, so that way you're only seeing the dashboard tab, and you feel free to look at that just when you need to, or as you need to. But realistically, you're going to spend most of your time entering the data here, so that it's all populated accordingly, and then that way you have a up-to-the-minute snapshot of what your trades are doing. If you had the stop calculations, just simply hit start calculations, and it'll populate everything up to the last entry that you had in the last minute that the market was open, and that way you can see the most up-to-date information there. But that's a full walkthrough of the journal and analyze. The OptionBoxer analyze and journal spreadsheet, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope you guys purchase it, because I've put a lot of work into it. If you have questions about it, or if you think it's ridiculous, or if you think it needs something, I'm always ready to and always excited to talk to other traders. So feel free to reach me at jeff@optionboxer.com. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye-bye.